Hi, good evening, everybody, again. The next panel is golf course maintenance practices, the heart and soul of this association. And we have a very strong panel here, of, including Mr. Ben McLean from Delhi Golf Course. He's the golf course superintendent there, representing Toon Golf. Then we have Colonel Ravi Rana, former golf course superintendent at Delhi Golf Course and many other places. Nikhil from RCGC, golf course superintendent at Royal Calcutta Golf Club. Mr. Bhupender Singh, who was at the Delhi Golf Course earlier and traveled to various other countries, including England, Wentworth, Australia also. And then Ms. Harshada, golf course superintendent at Pune and KGA and Ambi Valley also. Welcome all. Welcome to this panel. I'll start off by asking Ben, if I may. Ben, you've obviously worked in other countries. You started off in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, or Australia, and then you made the move to India. How do you compare your experiences working in India to working in other countries?
Yeah, so I started my career in New Zealand about 10 years ago. Obviously on cool season grasses there. And then after about 4 years, moved to Australia, then to the UK, back to Australia, and now to India. So my first experience with warm season grass was obviously in Australia, which was just common Bermuda grasses and Tiff Dwarf Bermuda grass greens. So similar to Australian turf species and climate, is pretty similar to what we have here in Delhi, especially where I was last in Australia in Queensland. So I think the turf species is quite similar, but I guess the biggest challenges for what I've seen is every site's different. So you can follow your fertility programs from Australia, your management practices, your maintenance schedules, all of these practices you can take from one facility to another, but they're not necessarily going to work. And that's what I have found here at DGC is you have to have boots on the ground every day. You have to be walking the greens, walking the tees, walking the fairways, and and taking note. So we rolled today. What effect did that have on the greens? We double cut. We did this. We applied this fertilizer. And you have to kind of assess the situation daily. So yeah, I guess in a way it's kind of extremely different, but then in a way it's still grass, right? So it needs the basics. It needs the water, the sunlight, the fertility. So I think kind of aside from the actual management practices, probably the biggest thing is the culture. Like the way that turf is managed here is very different to the way that turf is managed in Australia and the US and NZ and the UK. So I guess trying to kind of take in that local knowledge of how to manage the services at DGC, but then also try and implement some techniques that I've learned through my experiences. So, I guess a key one is, which we've spoke about a lot in this webinar sort of series, is water management. And that's probably the most key one I've found at Delhi Golf Club is water management. We have lots of microclimates, lots of dense forest. So overwatering is a killer, that'll give us disease, that'll give us all sorts of issues, So, I guess the key one is just that I've noticed here would be, I guess, trying to educate the guys on why we do certain things. water management, and probably fertility. Probably the three key points that I guess I've had to adjust or, sort of, I guess, mold to India. But, other than that, it's pretty, it's the same. It's the same, right? The cultural practices are the same. The timing's slightly different. The aggressiveness of the practice might be slightly different. But yeah, generally it's much the same.
So would you like to add to that, Ben?
Let me ask Harshada. She has been in KGA, which is on the lower basin. I mean, the water level was very high. Ben is clearly talking about overwatering being a practice in India. What are your experiences? Is that what the membership expectations are?
Good evening, sir. See, it is not the members' expectation. Many a time what happens, the ground is uneven. So some places require little extra water and some places require little less water. Generally, what happens because of this psychology that, okay, I have to cover this area, a normal human tendency, it goes like, okay, to cover that area, this area also get watered without seeing, or some of the golf courses like Pune golf course, they don't have the valve head control system. So in those cases, we have no other option to water this area and that area. So in such cases, it happens. But overall, it is not like that. The overwatering is the practices get followed in India. Some cases, helplessly, we have to opt for that. Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Thank you, Harshada. Bhupendra, you had also been in various golf courses. You have been abroad. You also did some agronomical internship in Scotland. What do you think will be the key management practices which most of the greenkeepers should be focusing on? I understand the situation is different in every golf course, but broadly, what Ben said, broadly the practices are similar everywhere.
Right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me here. Just to add to what Ben has said, this is what I also understood, while, having stints in different golf courses, be it in India or abroad. What I realized, it is like, we have the same basic principles of turf management everywhere which are applied, like mowing, irrigation, fertilization, cultural operations, and all that. But the important thing is every golf course is unique, be it in a country or in a, abroad or wherever. So because golf courses differ, so the application also differs of whatever basics we have. So the first thing what I realize is to understand the golf course, and then plan a strategy and accordingly apply those principles, like, mowing, because you have different grasses, different soil profiles, different environments, and different even strengths in a golf course. And similarly, we have unique constraints in every golf course. So that is why what I see, if I make an analogy, then with mathematics, then you have, like, the numbers, basic operations, multiplication, division, subtraction, all that. But every golf course is a unique equation in itself. So when you get into a golf course, you have to understand what the golf course is actually, demanding. So after you have an observation analysis of all this, then you make your strategy and plan how to deal with this. Otherwise, grass grows when you give it to fertilizer, when you give it a irrigation and properly, all these basic things. But that is the key, which I believe that everybody has to understand.
Right. So Nikhil, if I can come to you, we spoke about the changes that have happened at Royal over the last 10-15 years. Yesterday in one of our panels with Gaurav Ghosh and Tony, I've seen it firsthand. But could you Could you elaborate what are some of the major changes that you did in terms of the maintenance practices and the systems at the club over the last 10, 15 years or so?
Surely, Vijit, I can. Firstly, thank you for having me on this panel. I think the biggest thing which our club has done is engage in a global level consultant agency, Quality Golf. So what they've done for us is established management policies which determine what to do in every season. And those systems have been in place for the last decade and have been extremely helpful in improving the course conditions and playability of the golf course. So some other aspects which we've done is worked on our drainage. Like we have excavated some of our lakes, we've dredged our channels, we've improved the water retention of the golf course. So earlier on the monsoons, the course would be shut for a couple of days, even few weeks after a short period of rain. But right now we've already crossed 1400 millimeters this year, which is 300 millimeters higher than the previous year. And the golf course hasn't been shut till now. And the greens are rolling fine, rolling good. The putts on the greens, players are happy. Fairways are playing well. So sticking to our laid down policies over the years and having the committees also support those policies with the membership. So it's really been helpful that way.
Also, if I can continue here, Nikhil, the discussion, you're probably one of the first golf courses to use advanced technologies like the POGO and all that in terms of recording data and using that for your maintenance practices. If you can just discuss about how that has transformed the way you carry out your activities in terms of daily maintenance practices and cultural practices.
Sure. So we started using the POGO Turf Pro device in the last 2 years. So what that device has helped us is to map out our greens, tees, and fairways. And every time you use the POGO on a green, you take 9 to 12 samples, and it gives you a diagrammatic view of all the spots or areas of a green which require moisture. And you get a color-wise description, as well as you can track your moisture levels over a week to 2 weeks over a month. So it helps us manage precision watering to localize dry spots or certain segments of the green, or when to turn the overhead irrigation. Plus, it has helped to train our greenkeepers as well to make them understand that when's the right time to water and when's too much water is being applied. So it's been a good training tool. It's helped us in tracking progress in terms of salinity levels, seeing how the soil temperature also correlates with moisture requirements, watching season by season application. So it's a great tool to have on any golf course. And the best part about the POGO is that it requires no calibration. So you get the device and it's ready to go.
I can see Colonel Rana now on the screen. So obviously he was having some technological challenges. Welcome to the panel. And I think I'll ask you something which is related to technology. We are discussing a lot of technology. And I think you're from the old school where a lot of foot soldiering was involved. So what do you think? It should be a mix, or technology obviously is going to help a greenkeeper. But is it going to solve all the problems or most of the problems, or is there any other way?
Arun, firstly, thank you for getting me onto the panel. I see many companies being reflected on the backdrop, but I see GCS&MAI, which is our company, and I congratulate you for that. And my appreciation to all the young superintendents who are doing a great job. Most of the clubs in India are the clubs, and golf, where you say prefix, it is a unique thing. It is related to the golf course. As my friend superintendent from the Delhi Golf Club mentioned very rightly, greens often overwatered. Let me first come to that point. Watering practice must be based on various factors like soil properties, grass species, environmental conditions, other maintenance practices. When we say greens with poor drainage, must be watered slowly or at frequent intervals. Let's not forget, you have the sand-based greens with very high infiltration rate, requires light and frequent application of water. This is what I would like to mention about the overwatering part of it. When you talk about the technology, science is rapidly replacing art in the profession of greens maintenance, yet maybe more art than science involved in greens maintenance. I'll apprise my friends, young superintendents. They are doing, looking after the golf courses, maybe 200 acres of land. But how much is the area they need to attend? They need to water, they need to move, they need to fertilize. Let me give you a rough idea. 18-hole golf course with 195 acres of land. You have only fairways, 35 acres. Putting greens, 3 acres. Tee boxes, 3 acres. Total area, which is priority 1, becomes to 41 acres of land. In terms of percentage of the total property, 195 acres, fairways is 18%, putting greens 1.6%, tee boxes 1.6%. Look at it, that we must focus as a superintendent or managers that this is our priority 1, which is moved, watered, and done up every day to ensure that our clients or the guests coming enjoy the best of the part of the golf. Whereas 147 acre balance, which is rough wetland and water bodies. 5 acre is roughly the building and the parking lot. So this is the distribution, and this is how we have to plan our maintenance and cultural practices as such. Water requirement also, as I discuss on that, various things, I will not go in detail, which the company all, I think, Hunter has already covered in the rate of ET and per day requirement of water moisture level. But I would like to emphasize here that the importance of experience and observation to the maintenance of fine playing, that we must be clear. And when we say practices, for one golf course, practices may not fit in the other one. A medicine like paracetamol may suit me, it may not suit you. And one may even, find a lot of reactions. Then the timings for each application can be important as performing the operations. Greens construction, grass species, location, maintenance program, all affect the response to specific practices as such. Maintenance program must be flexible to allow unusual conditions. May have a list of good excuses for delay in terms of carrying out various operations, but I'll call it that is a poor planning on the part of the superintendent or the manager or the greens committee as such. So when we say practices on the golf course, I would like to mention here that many practices determine putting quality as such. When putting quality, when I say moving is the single most important practice in greens maintenance. It is a daily moving, daily changing the moving pattern, moving at the correct height, precise adjustments, allotment of manpower, daily cleaning and sharpening of mower, training of mowers operator, visual inspection.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me take the same question to Ben. Ben, you have a lot of international experience, so you have the advantage of seeing a lot of variety in climate changes, soils, and expectations for the members. And you also work for Troon, so you have access to a lot of technology. You have also access to a lot of advice, if I may say so. What do you think from your limited experience in Delhi Golf Club that there are few things which we need to focus on? Particularly, I think we can pump in a lot of money and get results, but I think a greenkeeper's responsibility is also to manage the resources in the best way possible at the minimum cost. So your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think yeah, like a superintendent's job can be tough. You gotta deliver the highest standards, within sometimes pretty restricted budgets, right? So I guess you need to look at the big picture, like we sort of a lot of trial and error. We looked at our water our water source was one of the first things that I looked at when I arrived, and I realized that because we're using effluent water, which for some courses can be, I guess, well, for us, it's beneficial in the fact that it carries a lot of nutrients. So our requirement for nitrogen is very minimal. So we can actually save, you know, a fair amount of money on fertilization. So I think, yeah, you need to look at the bigger picture, and you know, it's a tough one, right? Because as the guy said, like every site is different. But you know, in the UK we were working and it was snowing and it was -7 and we had frozen surfaces, but we still managed somehow, you know, through trial and error, we produced some good surfaces, right? So I think the biggest one is kind of not getting caught up in technology and keeping it simple and looking at those basic practices and minimal. There's a new thing out which Asian turf grass brought out, and it's basically the minimum requirement that fertility, right? That turf needs to survive. And you know, if you looked at our nitrogen applications at Delhi Golf Club, you'd be like, well, you know, why is the grass alive? But then look at our water source, and that's the reason why. So I think you need to look at your water source, your quality of your equipment, your quality of cut, and all those small efficiencies. You know, if your mowers are sharp, then your quality of cut's better, your playing surface is better, therefore your members are happy, and you're applying less fungicides because your blade is cut cleaner, right? So you know, you can have tons of experience, lots of international experience. You know, guys like you say, Troon. You know, Troon are awesome, and they you know, they provide me a lot of help and sort of, you know, we can work things out with our network. But again, keep coming back to the same thing. If the site, you know, like DGC is completely different to how you'd manage on the course up the road, and vice versa. You know, I think the biggest thing I've seen in India is just excessive fertilizer and excessive water, and probably, you know, those efficiencies that you have internationally aren't quite here in India yet. You know, and that's one thing that I would really like to try and bring here and try and educate the guys on that. Hey, you don't need to do this. You can still produce, you know, fantastic greens, fantastic surfaces if you half this nitrogen input, if you half this water output. You know, if you increase your cut frequency, decrease your cut, you know, plus, you know, all these sort of little things. But yeah, I don't really know if that answered the question. It's kind of a tough one, you know.
Yes, it is tough.
Yeah.
No,
Bounce
no,
around.
Arun,
there can't be a quick fix on anything. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
Arun,
100%.
yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Arun, I would like to mention here when you were saying that in India, the greens are overwatered. I would like to make a mention here. Environmental conditions have more influence on water than any other factors. Water use rates must vary depending on the temperature, the wind, the humidity, and the sunlight. Management practice like dethatching and aeration also influence water practices. As I mentioned earlier, sand-based green, soil-based push-up greens, it all have a different way of watering frequently, slowly, drainage poor, and that water is the water management. That what is being missed out by our superintendent, mostly keeping in view the temperature. When I talked to Karma Lakeland, I have been in Delhi Golf Club. I saw Karma Lakeland in the late at the evening. It used to be a very strong wind. In the morning, when I used to go there, I used to find the complete water is going in the lake rather than on the fairway. So the wind at night, the temperature during the day, humidity, sunlight, that matters a lot. Thank you.
So I guess what you're saying is that a greenkeeper learns a lot by observation, by
And
having his feet on ground, and by
very
seeing
right,
the facility on himself or herself,
very
uh,
right.
which we all, I think, agree. There's also another issue which we're facing in Indian golf courses. I mean, with USGA greens, you require a lot of sand. You have a lot of bunkers with the fashion in India is white sand, which is again limited, available in limited quantity. And there's also a lot of environmental concerns on depleting our river basins of the sand. So I think in times to come, availability of sand is going to be very, very questionable, and it's going to definitely become very expensive. So I guess Bhupinder and Harshada, two of you have worked on a lot of golf courses, so you can take turns. How do you think that you can minimize the usage of sand or reduce it at least?
Well, if I begin with this, then before coming to sand, just to take on from where Ben and Colonel Rana has been discussing about technology and all that. So I just believe that we do have our art or our personal engagement in that, but technology has actually helping us a lot, because expectations of golfers for the standards of maintenance of golf courses has increased many a times. So that is why without all this technology it would have not been possible. So I think both still both the aspects of science and technology, as well as our personal engagement, both holds true even today, and they will continue to be there.
Very right.
uh, now with just to add to that, sir, because we have now, we can irrigate our courses right from our a phone sitting at our homes. That was not possible earlier. So that is why technology is something which is always solicited, and the efficiency, and especially with regard to environment, as we had been discussing environment, the more we are engaging, or we are becoming concerned about environment, it is the innovation and technology only which is actually helping us to achieve higher standards, along with taking care of environment in a better way. So without technology it was very difficult. um, so that was one thing. Now coming to the sand part, definitely, sand is resource which is depleting, and it's not easily replenishable. River sand, which is actually is very good for turf grass management, because it has its round shapes and all that. So that's why it is preferred sand for any turf grass management. But because of a lot of usage and depletion, it's not easily replenished in the river beds and all that. So we have manufactured sand in the market, but again, manufactured sand is usable to some extent, but still it has its own issues. So there are challenges using manufactured sand. Now the point is, what I have observed in a golf course as a superintendent, bunkers, from golfers point, I would not comment that how much they are required and or not, but I would say that bunkers are one of the one of the areas where a lot of sand is used. So if we could actually minimize bunkers in a design in some way, and if you can have some other like grass bunkers or something, swales or some other element to compensate for taking away sand, especially from bunkers, that can actually be a lot of help to golf courses. Otherwise, obviously, for organic management, that is why we use sand. So obviously, other practices like dethatching or verticutting with advanced technological help, we are able to manage it. But still, sand is required for good turf grass management. And I think Ashada would add to what I am taking on.
Thank you, Bhupendra. Sir, actually, there is no replacement for the sand, as whatever the technology has advanced, this is a natural resource. So technology cannot replace the natural resources. But definitely, yes, over a period, we will have to find out some solution, or we'll have to look at it. This river mining sand, instead of that, nowadays we are getting the stone crushed sand. which is called silica sand. So that is also helping a bit. We tried this manufactured sand also, but with the manufactured sand, there are a lot of disadvantages using it. So it is not recommended for the long run usage. And like fairways, if we can make the fairways like 100 yards or 150 yards, or only the landing areas with the sand base, and rest all unwanted areas with the soil base, so that would also add up in saving the sand usage of the sand. Like in Pune Golf Club, we have the fairways of soil base, and we have only doing the surface topping up, which help us for the verticutting and coring. But whenever we are doing the coring, the cores are completely soil based. So that way we can reduce usage of sand. We can prioritize the areas, like only greens and tees we can prioritize. So that way it will help us to reduce the sand usage. Because for natural resources, finding substitute is quite difficult.
Absolutely. Yes, sand is, sir, please.
I would like to comment what you call Vijit.
Sir.
When we talk about the sand uses, as per the USGA recommendation, whatever the green construction sand is used, whether it's a black sand or a white sand, the same sand should be used in the bunker as well as the green construction. Like in Delhi Golf Club, I think the bunker sand is white, construction sand may be different, you have done it. Now the people play the shot, the white sand goes onto the apron, goes on the green. I'm sure the ladies with the brooms must be cleaning it, otherwise over a period after the monsoon, it will become a concrete. That is the one. Secondly, very rightly, Bhupender has said to reduce the number of bunkers. Let's cut down to 50%. I don't think an 18-hole golf course, 54 bunkers are more than adequate. So that is the design. Where you have international tournaments coming in, that is only the signature golf courses, maybe 3-4 golf courses in the country. There you can have as many bunkers. Even there are the bunkers overseas, and one of the bunkers I read in the book, it is 1,000 small to big bunkers. As far the sand is concerned, what Harshada is talking about, the national resources, I am sure that as far as sand is concerned, if doing the sand capping onto the fairways, either you do in one go, or you do over a period of 1 year, 2 years, 4 inches sand capping. If you do it, it is going to cost you 10 crores rupees on an 18-hole golf course. That's what happened in Pune. If you take that golf course done by Phil Ryan, over there, they wanted to change this, but the captain was telling me it is damn difficult, because there's so much of grass and removing it, putting it, all kind of things to take place. Similarly, when you say the sand can be controlled by using top dressing, that's all right. Top dressing of the greens, the tee boxes is a must. So is the aprons. But as rightly, landing areas, that is the first, we can give priority. Second priority could be aprons, or what you call the front of the green, that is the approach shots. But definitely sand requirement be cut down to 50%, and it can be done in most of the clubs except like Delhi Golf Club, it could be Karnataka Golf Club, it could be like in Ahmedabad or Eagleton, or let's take JP Green. These are the 5-6 signature golf courses where we need more bunkers, and you can't cut down on the sand. Sand is very costly. I saw in one of the golf magazines given out by USGA, in which they have thrown dollars. It costs money. You have been yourself been the consultant into the HSIDC or something in Bombay. You've seen the condition of those bunkers. Every heavy rain, the bunkers are contaminated with the soil, and you need to replace them. Not only the labor, the sand. I'm sure you must be doing the redesigning of all those bunkers next to the green side bunkers.
No, sir, you're absolutely spot on in terms of number of bunkers. You can have one well-placed bunker instead of 3 misplaced bunkers.
Very right.
So even Augusta National, when it opened, I'm not sure how many bunkers, but I think they had less than 20 bunkers when it opened. So even a golf course like Augusta doesn't need more than 20. So I don't think more golf courses in India can, learn from that. But also, sir, Rana sir, since something that I am fascinated to learn or hear from you is, like, you've seen the transition of golf course maintenance practices from where, when you were at DGC, from where it used to be without even proper machinery and manpower to where it is now, having pogos and, latest technologies. So what is the biggest difference that you see in terms of, the transition that has happened from where back in the 80s or 70s to now?
See, initially what I saw in Delhi Golf Club, we were using gang mowers. Subsequently, before the one of the international tournament or like in Indian Open, we acquired the fairway mower. Of course, Super Surtees, what Colonel Vinay Khanna has been supplying, they were replaced by the Toro machines. And that quality of mowing improved a lot. In fact, everybody appreciated. We had 70 foreigners playing on the course. And that time the captain, there was, I think, mentioned it those by the golfers. He said it is a hidden treasure because the kind of a fairway we produced, the kind of the green was moved, but only thing the grass species like Bermuda, we tried our best by reducing the watering, reducing the nitrogen, moving the greens twice, but still the speed was never more than 9.5 as such on the stamp meter. Now the green, I think with the mini verdi, with the moving pattern and with the moving frequency, I'm sure it must have touched to 12 to 13. So technology very rightly has made a big difference. But the art, when we say it is the man behind the machine matters. So when you have the qualified superintendent managers, because it is a great job, it is dedicated passion. In fact, everybody should get up and clap for them. They are doing a wonderful job. I yet to see any magazine, anybody, captain, any what you call Greens committee to give a pat to the superintendent. I'm sure that I was in Tamil Nadu Golf Federation and we have a speaker from Tamil Nadu, Shal will appreciate that I transformed that golf course. And that is where the respect, that is where my back was, thumped by that time N. Srinivasan, who was the president of the club, even now is today. But that kind of a treatment should be given to our superintendent, which is lacking badly. Nowhere in the magazine I'm yet to see anybody is highlighting our superintendents and managers. They feel that they are doing a job and they are getting a salary that is good enough, but that is not enough. Let me tell you loud and clear about this. They are not being looked after at all. Leave aside their remuneration, leave aside their appreciation, leave aside their respect. They feel they are the factory workers. They come in the morning, go at 6 o'clock. No, that is not the way to take work from the superintendent. They are the one who is running the business for the golf industry, not this machine, not this Rainbird, not the Toro, not the Hunter, not anybody, not the designer, unless you have the golf course superintendent dedicated and professional. I'm very frank in telling everyone, including you, Vijay. You may make any good golf courses, they will be ruined like the DDA buildings are ruined after having made a structure. Please.
We got that, sir. Let me interrupt you there. We got your point about respect for greenkeepers. Let me ask Ben, who seems to have traveled the world. Do you have that same sore point which Colonel Rana is talking about? Lack of recognition for greenkeepers? And don't be diplomatic. We need a straight answer.
Be frank. Be frank.
In all honesty, yes, it is a thankless job, right? Because you're behind the scenes, you're there early morning, you're in the frost, you're in the heat, you're working hard. Well, I would say my team, right? My team are working hard, right? I might have the ideas, but my team, you know what I mean? It's my team that I need to thank and the team that need the thanks because they're the guys doing the groundwork. But I think for me, it's a super rewarding job, right? There's a lot of job satisfaction. It doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like work. So although, yes, I might not get the thanks that maybe we deserve at times, for me, I wake up every morning, I'm like, I enjoy what I do. So I think I agree. But then for me, I find satisfaction within, I guess, like you look at a green, right? One day you cut the green and you look back in the sun setting and it's a pretty good feeling, right? And I think even someone saying thank you probably can't beat that feeling, So yeah, yes and no.
Let me remind you, Ben, The recordings are available to Troon Golf. And let me come to Nikhil, who seems the youngest superintendent here. What about you, Nikhil? Do you have any response, or you want to be diplomatic and keep quiet?
Sir.
Incidentally, Gaurav Ghosh is listening. He's logged in.
So that's okay, sir. I'll speak the right facts. So our committee from the start has always been supportive about us young boys picking up the trade. They supported us, trained us, and given us access to worldwide information through international management companies. And now they've given us this opportunity, and there's plenty of support. There's the occasional, the cane comes occasionally, but it's helpful, and it's really, they make it fun to work. It's a tough job, but when you have such a good committee support, it makes it worthwhile.
I can only say, Nikhil, you'll go very far.
It is a fun. Nikhil, it is a fun, but what happens in a way to recognize your job by the committee, the chairman, the captain? No. Captain, does he play with you sometime? Does your committee member ever take you on the golf course to play a round of golf?
That was on a lighter venture. But
no, that is where you can discuss. Like I'm telling you, I had the pleasure of playing at the Pebble Beach, $440 fees I paid. And there is a maintenance golf course directors and superintendent, whatnot under them. But what happens? These are people who are maintaining where the revenue you are earning is basically from the golf course. Second is from the F&B. Ask Harshada. I've been to their golf course in Pune. What do the members talk? What do the people talk? No.
So, our Greens committee has, we have a few professional tournaments, professional players who are part of our Greens committee, and we have some low handicap golfers, such as my convener. So we interact almost on a day-to-day basis, and they keep giving me feedback, and they listen to us, they give us guidance. So it's a very interactive committee which we've had over the years.
That is fine. That is interacting is fine. Let me give you an example. One of the top player of the country, he's still a member in Delhi Golf Club, and probably he would know, Bhupender would know, is Mr. Malik. Which Malik you know? Who had been the Ashok Malik Asian champion for 5 years. He as a member of the committee doesn't know. He asked me a question saying, so Ravi, what do you adjust the machine or you adjust the grass? Maine kaha, sir, Shraddha ki baat hai. Can you beat it? This is how we deal with them.
Sir, just to add to what the discussion is going on, if you please allow me.
Please go ahead.
I actually had been in this industry. I started some 10-15 years back as a young professional into greenkeeping. The entire world was new for me, this greenkeeping thing, and I could say with conviction that in these 15 years, actually things have changed a lot. I mean, you are right. I mean, there are still golfers. They will have their attitudes. They come in capital because they pay basically, and we get paid for being there in the golf course. So definitely there are things.
We are not laborers. We are not laborers. We are the professionals. We are the professionals.
Okay.
But overall, I had seen that there is a gradual, respect.
Bhupin, let me interrupt you here, and Colonel Ran, let me interrupt you. We'll take the discussion on this line for too long, because I think we can keep discussing this till cows come home.
Yeah.
And we understand that there is something, and let's take it on that what Ben said, that greenkeepers as a community like what they do.
Yes.
They have love for this, and of course, managements need to improve recognition, etc., and other things. Definitely. And let me come back to Harshada. You have been quiet for some time. What would you think that the basics, the bare basics, the bottom line of maintenance practices in golf course should be? You cannot ignore that at all. We're not talking about making a super fine golf course. We're talking about the basic maintenance.
Sir, in the basic maintenance, I would like to say that as a superintendent, it's his or her job that greens must be seen every day very keenly, and a superintendent must have an eagle's eye that wherever you are on the golf course, you must be able to reach to the problem. And when you're reaching to the problem with it, when it is at very small stage or primary stage, it is very helpful for you to keep the tap on it or to keep the control on it. So basically, every superintendent job is that every day you must go to each and every corner of the golf course, though it is a extreme rough, non-playing rough, or whatever it is, because generally this fungus and everything gets developed, which is your dump yard areas or your outside areas or some host growing at the extreme corner of the golf course. So from there, the fungus or some insect infestation starts, and suddenly it creeps into the main part of the golf course. So a superintendent need to be very keen. When you are on the rounding, you must be going on the round with the keen observation. So that is the first thing. When you are on the round, when you observe the things and you taking care of the things on the same day or within a day time, that will help you a lot to keep the infestation or any issue or any problem which is happening or uh, taking start at the golf course. So that is the basic thing I would say. And rest technical issues, every superintendent is qualified. Everybody have the degrees. They know the technical part very well. So I feel observation is the first thing. You must notice the problem at the first stage.
Right. There's a question from the audience. Mr. Gaurav Sayal is asking Ben, what are the kind of sustainable maintenance practices in place at Delhi Golf Course? Ben?
Yeah, well, I think firstly we're using effluent water, like recycled grey water, right? So that's a big one. We're using recycled water, and obviously it's been spoke about many a times that we have to monitor our water usage. It's only going to get worse. The climates are getting harsher. The demand for fresh water for people for drinking and bits and pieces is becoming more crucial. So I think point one would be the recycled effluent water, and then secondly we're using the pogo, which is as mentioned is a key tool. So again, that reduces our water usage significantly. We also have individual head control on our greens, so we can really dial in our water. So if there's, say, the back right portion of the green requires water, we can just run that head. It's not a block system. We don't have to run the whole green. And that saves a significant amount also. And then probably our fungicide usage is pretty low. There's some greens that we have to treat due to some pretty heavy shade issues and sort of microclimates there where we don't have airflow, especially during monsoon season. But what I've tried to adopt is only treating those 3 or 4 greens. If the other greens look healthy, then why waste money and fungicide and time and bits and pieces, if there's no issue there. So that's one thing that we'll try to do this monsoon season is just adopt a program where we're only treating specific greens. And then on our tees and fairways and rough, if we see some disease there, we try and get it out culturally or try and manage it before it becomes a problem, so we don't have to apply chemicals. So I think cultural practices are a big one. Like I'm a big fan of cultural practices, aeration, verticutting, and obviously top dressing, right? So I feel that you can resolve or prevent a lot of issues in the turf with those practices, and therefore you reduce your chemical inputs, and then you become more sustainable. So yeah, I guess those are probably the key ones at DGC.
Anything from that, Ben? Sustainability. When you talk about sustainability, what part of your overall? I think this question is open to everybody. What part of your the use of chemicals versus organic substances that you use? Is it increasing over time now? Because you must have seen across the world what is roughly the percentage if you're talking about an organic golf course? Can it be 100% organic, or is that even feasible? And where are we
Yeah, well,
in terms of most golf courses in the country?
so like in the UK, right, you pretty much can't use nearly every chemicals banned, right? I think they got emergency usage, emergency approval to use an insecticide this year because they were getting hammered with I think sugar grub. So when I was in the UK, most courses, I was at JCB Golf and Country Club, and that was a new build. We constructed that from the ground up, and they adopted a fully organic program right from the start. And it was probably the healthiest turf I've ever seen. Within 3 months, the roots were coming out the bottom of the hole changer, which I found phenomenal. I was like, wow, this stuff is, it's pretty good, right? But then again, it's not the silver bullet. Like, we still had to apply the odd fungicide. But I feel it's a way to go. And unfortunately, the research I've done in India, we don't really have many turf registered organic products. A lot of them are agricultural based, and sometimes their active ingredient or their composition doesn't quite match the turf, which can cause some issues like some of these organic fungicides. They can actually build up within the soil profile and then cause turf loss. So I think the UK and Europe has really adopted the organic program quite extensively, and I would love to get it over here also, but the cost is quite significant because at the moment you have to sort of import most of the stuff, and that obviously there's restrictions around that also. So I would say the UK, Europe are probably the leaders in that part of turf management, and I know that a few courses in New Zealand are starting to adopt that, and I think probably within the next 5 to 10 years it'll be like a global type of thing, right? There's more and more articles in the industry now regarding banning glyphosate and banning this and banning that. So I think we have to adopt it. We can't. We have to go with it. There's no other option.
Sure. So Harshita, if there's another question from the audience, Harshita, if you can take this if you want. It says organic fertilizer use makes the grass turf susceptible to insects and pests. How do you overcome this problem if you use organic chemicals? And inorganic gives immediate results, but organics usually take a longer period of time. So how do you maintain that balance, I guess?
Yeah. See, organic fertilizers are like our Ayurvedic medicines. It takes time, but it gives you good result. Organic fertilizer doesn't attract the insects or pests. If it is properly compost, means if it is aerobically properly compost, it doesn't attract the pest or any diseases. It's for sure that in the crowded golf courses, going for organic will be quite challenging because in the crowded golf courses, we don't have the time to wait for the longer thing. We have to patch up the things in the shorter period. So I recommend for the crowded golf courses, it's better to go for inorganic one because organic takes a lot of time. But it is always suggested.
I think Anna wants to take on that question.
Yeah, Arun, it is something like, like Harshada is telling organic and chemical fertilizers. Yes, it is a good idea to have organic when there is a peace time. In the war time, like we have the tournaments and everyday play in a like Delhi Golf Club, Pune Golf Club, Noida Golf Club, we have about 100 or 1,000 round of golf per year. Like you take the average golfer with the 18 handicap, he takes at least 96 swings and 18 hole to finish. You can well imagine 96 swings, 96 divots, that 100 divots per individual. Then you can well imagine 100 people playing 100 divots, you can work out the number. If the 4 days game, it will have 10,000 what you call divots all over. It will be plowed like the pigs have done on the fairway. So you need to level it, to roll it, to fertilize it with a chemical fertilizer to get back to the same turf. So that is what is important. Organic is fine, but how much? That will not suffice our work at all onto the fairways. Greens, yes, to an extent we can use like neem khali, organic neem, whatever it is.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vijay.
Bhupendraji, if I can ask you one question. You've also written a book on golf course maintenance practices. So when you were doing your research or something, is there something in particular that you learned from your experiences at Wentworth and other places that you went there? What was your inspiration behind, and where did you gather the information for your book? Like, I'm interested personally, at least, in this question.
Right, right. Um, with regard to, I mean, if you ask me my personal, learning from a book, then what I thought when I entered into this field of golf course superintendent, then I realized that okay, this is a technical subject. It's there, but other than the mainstream work of everyday golf maintenance and all that, I realized that as a superintendent, you do not have a very particular carved out target. That is the only thing. You have to learn everything as much as you can learn about because as a superintendent you need to learn about the golf in entirety, if one could afford to, right from
Yes.
playing, right from rules and whatever comes your way. So one has to be very open-minded with regard to golf in general. So that was my initial strategy, to learn as much as possible about different aspects of golf other than maintenance as well. So I started researching, about the book. Certain things I researched on course, like certain weeds which were found on Delhi Golf Club. So that was a personal interest other than the routine maintenance. So these kind of things I kept on, noting. And after, few years, some 7-8 years, I gathered some personal, inferences and opinions about that. So I thought, why not share this? And also I realized that why not share something with the industry, especially because in India, as we know, in the last 10-15 years, though we have come a long way, but still with regard to turf grass management, nothing formal was available in those days. So that's why that idea was there in my mind. And while researching and while working, that was a journey which actually broadened my overall thinking about golf, and that helped me in managing golf courses better. What I feel. Along with that, I also realized that why not, as a superintendent, why not if one can learn other things in golf also. So I started learning about rules of golf. So that was another aspect which kept me driving and learning certain other things. So once I happened to learn the rules, that again added a little different perspective of maintenance. So all in all, if I tell you, then not only book, but be it golf rules, be it observing the game or play in general, that helps you actually do your job better. Now I could see and realize what a golfer wants from his perspective about golf course. As a course superintendent, just focusing on your grass cutting and growing grass, that does help, but it's something. If you could learn more history of golf, if you could learn more designing part, you can't be 100% into that, but you can keep an interest in the design factors about golf course marking. When there's a tournament or something, why not engage with the specialists who come to mark the course. So there are different aspects which do not are required very particularly with the golf course superintendent. But as a superintendent, if he could learn a little more of a technology, a little more of a golf operations, a little more of a some different aspects of golf course, then that helps in the overall understanding of what is required from us as a superintendent. Because golf course maintenance do not work in isolation. You actually work for a larger picture, for a larger game. So for that, as much as you can understand through different sources, that is the best way, which I always followed, and I still continue to follow that kind of approach with regard to turf maintenance.
Well, Rama, sir, you want to add something?
Yeah, Bhupender, have you started playing golf?
Yes, sir. I started. I just started. I mean, not very proficient, but I
No,
have
no.
started.
When you use the prospects from the golfer point of view, unless you play golf, you cannot visualize from golfer's prospect point of view. So it is a
Right,
must for a golf course superintendent at least once in a week go around and play 4 hole, 5 hole. Then you will understand what is the golfer's need, what do they want. Very rightly, from their prospect, you must only can do that by playing the golf.
that is right. Definitely, sir. I do agree with that.
Good that you have started. Appreciate sometime we will come that side and have a round of golf with you.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we've run out of time now. I'm sure we can continue with this
Yeah.
lovely panel that we have, but we'll have to wrap it up, sir. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. And
Thank you, Vijay.
I'm sure the audience learned a lot and enjoyed the session.
Thank you, Vijay sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Arshada.
Yes.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
GCS&MAI.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr.
Thanks.